James Comey is saying, oh, I didn't know. I mean, I really didn't. I had no idea that 86 meant that. Oh, come on. What a schmuck. I mean, he lies on top of it, guys. I have no respect for him. No respect. By the way, Kash Patel saying, we are aware of the recent tweet by former FBI Director James Comey directed at President Trump. We are in communication with the Secret Service and Director Curran. Primary jurisdiction is with Secret Service on these matters, and we, the FBI, will provide all necessary support. So the FBI is on standby. You got Kristi Noem at DHS on standby, tweeting that she's ready, willing, and able. They are going to be investigating it as well. And so finally, Comey decides to come out with this, his little mea culpa. Quote, I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message, he wrote in a statement. I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind. So I took the post down. Are you freaking kidding me, buddy? You didn't know what that meant? Wow. You expect us to believe that? No one's going to believe it. I mean, this guy just lies through his teeth, doesn't he?
Knew exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard. Because people like me, and they like what's happening with our country. Our country's become respected again, and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't.
Well, he
wasn't calling
apologized
for
because he was
violence.
hit.
But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen?
What
do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing, and when you add his history to that. If he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty cop. And if he had a clean history, I could understand if there was a leniency. But I'm going to let them make that decision.
So he's being careful. He has to be cautious about that. It's the same thing that we saw, right, the other day with Letitia James, where he's like, she's a bad person. She's bad for New York. But I'm going to let Pam Bondi make that decision. Again, in this case, he's going to let the DOJ make that decision. I have a feeling the DOJ is going to be siding with Tulsi Gabbard on this one. Stephen Miller also coming out and responding. This is, of course, the architect of all the domestic policy. As the former FBI director and key leader of the deep state, Comey's call for assassination, while the president is abroad, no less, is a chilling escalation of the war against our democracy by a faction committed to its destruction. Tulsi spoke a little bit last night about how there is this commitment to violence, and you're seeing it coming out of the super left-wing crowd, the Antifa crowd, and it's a very dangerous thing. And so she wants to see some repercussions here. She wants people to know this is not okay. You cannot be out there calling for violence against the President of the United States. Free speech be damned in this particular case. This is the former head of the FBI, James Comey. He should know better. He does know better. He did this for a reason.
Tulsi Gabbard's the director of national intelligence. Are you buying that the former FBI director didn't know what 86 Trump meant?
Absolutely not, Jesse. That is a ridiculous and insane statement to make, certainly within this context, but especially coming from a guy who's the former director of the FBI, a guy who spent most of his career prosecuting mobsters and gangsters, people who know and execute other humans and use this exact lingo of 86. Comey himself admitted in his follow-on message that he knew that this was a political statement. Well, the only reason he knew that, Jesse, was because a little over a month ago, a bunch of anti-Trump, anti-Elon Musk protesters were proliferating the use of this 8647 slogan, which was a veiled call to action to murder the sitting president of the United States. So for Comey to think that we, the American people, are so stupid as to think that he, as a former FBI director, former prosecutor, and someone who clearly pays attention to what's going on, would believe his lie that he didn't know what this actually was calling for. The dangerousness of this, Jesse, cannot be underestimated.
She's right. The danger cannot be underestimated. And you know what? Comey's a bad dude. We saw that before. What do you think the whole Russia thing that we had to waste all that time on and taxpayer money on was all about? What about the spying on the Trump campaign? That all originated from one James Comey. So Tulsi also explained he has a bad history. He is not a good person. And this needs to be followed up on. The guy belongs in the slammer.
When we have 2 assassination attempts on the president's life, when we have people who look to guys like Comey, who've been celebrated by MSNBC and the Democrat elite and CNN as the beacon of integrity, the law and order guy, the guy who would tell the truth no matter what the consequences. This is the guy who's issuing a hit on President Trump, the president that the American people voted for. So it's guys like Comey and others who call the president the modern day Nazi, people who are in great positions of influence, who are saying that President Trump poses an existential threat to our country. These are people who hate democracy and hate the American people because they cannot stand that the people overwhelmingly chose to elect Donald Trump and send him back to the White House. So they are seeking other means to get their way and to try to remove him from that position.
Okay. Well, I have a feeling James Comey is going to have to pay the price for this. So let's go to the part where she just puts it right out there. Exactly what you're thinking, exactly what I'm thinking. Cue the tape.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do. Any other person with the position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
Boom. So James Comey might actually, now keep in mind that the left would sort of enjoy this in a weird, twisted way, right? Because Tulsi explains that, nobody should be above the law here. There's a guy down in Georgia that was going after her. I wonder if it was the same guy that was going after me. Kind of had a similar thing. Anyway, that guy's in jail now, okay? Tulsi's explaining that somebody tried to go after her and threaten her life. He is now in jail as a result. And this should be no different when it comes to one James Comey, because in the case of Comey, he should know even better.
Whatever his intent, I will tell you that there is a guy in Georgia who was issuing threats on my life about a month ago, and he's in jail today. He has been indicted with a crime, as he should have been, and he is in jail as we speak. So whatever James Comey intent, he and people like him need to be held to account according to the law, which is something that he claims to have given his life for and stands by the rule of law. Fantastic. The rule of law says people like him who issue direct threats against the President of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
Boom. Okay? In other words, no one's above the law. I do believe Letitia James used to like to say that one. So James Comey, you're going to find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. Now remember what a slimy guy this is, okay? Here he was, former FBI director, total hack. Like complete, total hack, out on MSNBC before the election saying, you must vote for Trump or else, forgive me. You must not vote for Trump or else. You must vote for Kamala Harris because the stakes are that high. Here we go. Let's cue this one on MSNBC just weeks before the election.
When you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters. Because of a reason like that, people have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
Maybe the consequences for you, Mr. Comey. Yeah. So that was the line that they tried to deliver, right? That you absolutely had to vote for Biden or Kamala Harris eventually because the alternative was that bad. Well, what's the alternative? The alternative is calling out the other side and exposing the other side for all that they engaged in, including pretty, I don't know how else to say this, just horrendous, awful behavior. Don't forget, James Comey is the one that was spying on all the campaigns. He was doing Obama's bidding to figure out what was going on in the Trump campaign, and also, by the way, to figure out what was going on in the Ben Carson campaign. We had George Papadopoulos, who came on the show and said he was the victim of 3 spying attempts by none other than James Comey, because Comey authorized the wiretapping that was going down and all the sort of honeypot scandals that happened because he was trying to entrap people and get information. Well, why would you do that? George Papadopoulos explained it as, well, he was originally on the Ben Carson campaign, so they figured they could infiltrate that one because Ben Carson at one point kind of had a shot. And then once he moved to the Trump campaign, they were really worried about Trump having a shot, so they went in and did that. Don't forget how they got the wiretapping to happen by signing off on a bogus FISA warrant. And then you had the guy who did it actually getting in trouble because it turns out he forged some documents along the way. I mean, this was Comey's FBI, right? Don't forget, the timing on all this is very, very interesting, you guys. The timing is extremely fascinating to me. The timing of Comey sending this is fascinating in that Donald Trump is accomplishing a lot at this moment in time. I mean, he's over there in the Middle East, he's getting stuff done. Things are happening. And it's almost as though, oh, I don't know, maybe Comey's a little bit jealous. Comey doesn't want all this success. Maybe Comey doesn't want peace in the Middle East. I don't know. Between India and Pakistan, or the reopening of Syria, or all those deals coming in from Saudi Arabia. Comey's got a few things going on, I guess. Maybe he doesn't want any of this. Maybe that's the agenda. Is that why you post something like this now?
The FBI
Remember, and I want to go to this next bit. Remember Comey, so proud of how he went after one General Flynn, Michael Flynn, getting trapped up in one of his charades because, well, he lied to the FBI. Not that you should ever lie to the FBI. I'm not condoning that. But the way he went about, Comey went about trying to entrap General Flynn was all wrong. All right, because General Flynn just thought, okay, I'm doing the right thing. The FBI wants to come and ask me some questions. And Comey's so proud. Here he is telling one of the MSNBC anchors at a 92nd Street Y event how awesome he was because he just decided to take advantage of the situation. Since nobody really knew in the Trump White House, they were all brand new and very, very trusting. He decided to go in there with a couple of agents and spring a few questions onto Flynn, in which case they caught him. They caught him saying some mistruths. George Papadopoulos had a similar thing happen to him. He told us, he's like, look, I just took their questions. I didn't think to say, hey, I need a lawyer. I need this, that, and the other. And then he said, when they ask you, what were you doing on this particular day at such and such a time? If you get that one wrong, well, what do you know? Suddenly you're lying to the FBI. That's a federal crime. It's a big freaking deal, right? And you wind up in jail, which is what happened. Anyway, let's go to Comey, who's bragging about it. Just to remind you what a bad dude he is.
The FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official. You would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over. And so we placed a call to Flynn, said, hey, we're sending a couple guys over. Hope you'll talk to them. He said, sure. Nobody else was there. They interviewed him in a conference room at the White House Situation Room, and he lied to them. And that's what he's now pled guilty to.
What did he think they were coming over there for?
I don't think he knew. No, we didn't tell him. Just said, we've got sending over a couple of agents. I want to ask you some questions.
Because he thought he could take advantage of the situation. So this is the James Comey you're talking about. He's not on the side of the then President Donald Trump. He wanted to take Trump down. He wanted everybody around him to come down. He's the guy who's orchestrating the honeypot schemes. And he's the guy who's saying, yeah, let's get that fake dossier out there into the public. I mean, wow, just wow. You guys, This is amazing to me. And then has the idiocy to put out this stinking Instagram post. I mean, come on, buddy. Come on. This is so unbelievably gross. 8647. Who do you think you are? Is that some kind of special intel op thing that you're telling everybody to 86 the guy? Not okay. Okay, not okay. You do, or you're supposed to have a certain amount of stature as the former head of the FBI, which makes this thing even worse. But I'm telling you, the timing is weird. Okay, the timing is really, really weird because, it's happening as all this good stuff is going on. And I mean really, really good stuff. You get Trump over there in the Middle East, and he's got all kinds of successes, one after another. Okay, and he knows it. In fact, he said, remember when you're praising all this, who got it done?
They'll say, I did that, and everyone will say, but somebody's going to be cutting a ribbon, and well, we're going to be finished long before that.
Oh, yes, that's the game.
Somebody's going to be taking the credit for this. You remember, press, this guy did it.
Right? He did it. Look, we've got a whole bunch of stuff. You got the Saudi Arabian company signing all these deals with U.S. companies for $90 billion. You got Boeing landing a ton of Saudi deals. You've got stuff going on in Qatar. You've got Russia, Ukraine agreeing today to a Russian-Ukrainian prisoner exchange. Huge deal. Pakistan, India, peace deal. Syrian sanctions getting dropped. I mean, whoa, right? Like one thing after another. So this is all good stuff. By the way, it's good stuff for the markets. I just want to point out, and Trump knows that as well, believe me. He likes when the markets go higher. Even if he tries to tell you, when things are down, that he doesn't really think that the markets are the be-all, end-all. Trust me, I know him. He likes it when the stock market is higher, as do we all, right? So he has talked about the stock market moving higher, and what do you know? Up 0.6% today on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, up 0.5% on the S&P, up 0.3% on the NASDAQ. Things are good. And he says, guess what? They are about to get even better. So make sure you invest now. Watch.
Amazing what a rising market will do. Oh, it's going to get a lot higher. In fact, I told people 5 weeks ago, this is a great time to buy. I got criticized for that. Now they don't criticize me anymore. People should have listened. But it's going to go a lot higher. You're going to see, we've never had anything like this happen. It's an explosion of investment and jobs, and great companies are coming in.
It's the biggest bill of its kind ever in the history of this country. And Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done an incredible job. I mean, I'll let you know, we have to get a vote, but we have a lot of support for that bill. And if that happens on top of all of these trade deals that we're doing, this country will hit a point that you better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. If we get that. If you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. If it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight.
They really do have Trump derangement syndrome. But you know what? Look, the bill's kind of stuck right now. That news came out today. Actually, some conservatives didn't back it, but we'll shelve that one for a second because there's plenty of other good news to go around, and it's why the market is reacting the way it is. Look, it's not too late. He's saying still it's time to buy in now. I agree with that sentiment, especially for long-term investors. 76 Research is my company. I started with a dear friend and who has spent a lot of time on Wall Street running billions of dollars. I myself am not too bad at this, having been a financial reporter for my entire career. So I encourage you to go over to 76 Research, use code word dollar today. Look at those portfolios. I mean, up and away, and there's more good stuff to come. I'm telling you guys, much more good stuff to come. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff.